Championship week. Alabama, Georgia. Oregon, Washington. Texas, Oklahoma State. Hell, New Mexico State and Liberty. Way I see it, New Mexico State may be the best team in the country right now, the way they beat Auburn and the way Auburn almost beat Bama in crazy fashion. But what an incredible weekend. Hope everybody had an amazing Thanksgiving. It was just a absolute bar. You cannot ask for more of a weekend. Just full spectrum college football, wild finishes, upsets, things like that. It was an incredible weekend.
Being with family, too.
For sure.
All the food, man. It's a great week.
We got a dog. Pretty excited about that.
Who's this, Manny?
Manny.
Wow.
Boy bulldog that happens to be French, but I don't want to hear about that.
He is French.
Blaine
They're all
at him yesterday.
French
No, they're not. No, we're
No,
not.
Jake's a French spy. We've talked about this. He's just surrounding himself with Frenchmen.
No, I'm not.
More like Ace Ventura.
Yeah. Well, that's what it was like when I walked in the house yesterday with 4 dogs and a cat. I was just waiting for like a monkey to jump out of a cabinet, like a parrot to land on my shoulder.
Give it time.
Yep. Great show today. Nick Saban and Kirby Smart will face off once again for the SEC championship in Atlanta. Texas A&M looks to finalize a deal to make Mike Elko their new head coach. We're going to break down the whole coaching carousel. And the Eagles beat the Bills in a wild overtime finish. I'm Jake Crane. It's championship week. Woo! Buckle up. It's Crane and Company. Now, before we hop into these breakdowns, I do want to let you guys know that this is it. Today is your last shot at the best deal of the year. You can get 50% off. That's half off Daily Wire Plus annual memberships. And now is the time to join for ad-free, uncensored content from all your favorite hosts, like us. The best deal of the year ends today. Get it now at dailywire.com/subscribe. Now, this weekend, we know there are a lot of elite matchups. Alabama and Georgia are at the top for me. And when you look at this game, I think it points out one of the most beautiful parts about college football is that you can win running totally different systems or having different identities on offense and defense. In the NFL, a lot of people are pretty much running the same stuff in different variations. There's a reason it's called the pro-style offense. But when you look at how Alabama and Georgia have gotten here offensively, they could not be more opposite in the methodology or the ideology that they used to go about scoring points. To put it in perspective, if Georgia and Alabama were actors, their offenses would be labeled in totally different categories. First, Georgia would be a method actor. They're the Daniel Day-Lewis of college football. Now, what do I mean by that? Is that they are consumed by their identity. It does not matter where they're at, who they're playing, or what the score is. They are going to run an offense that is meant to be on time and does not have a lot of improvisation. They're not out there going willy-nilly, running around on the scramble drill, creating plays. Carson Beck's not out there extending the play outside the pocket and letting everything happen in front of them and basically running a play that got drawn up in the dirt or changed mid-play. Georgia does have versatility, though. That doesn't mean they just run the ball to throw it. That doesn't mean they just throw the ball to run it or they're very predictable. They have great protection. They run a gauntlet of an offense that has many different formations. They can pitch backwards. Their best strength is their versatility. But they are not going to change. They have been that way with Carson Beck the whole year. Now, when you look at Alabama, they're basically the opposite when it comes down to how they get their big plays, how they score most of the time, and that's when the play breaks down. They're improvisational. They are the Will Ferrell or the Ryan Stiles of college football. They can go out there, and if the play breaks down, that's when they're at their best. They don't have to go through everything step by step by step, just making the right decisions all the time. It's Jalen Milroe outside of the pocket. It's Jalen Milroe inside the pocket. We've seen games where Alabama's been able to run it. We've seen games where they have not been able to run it. But ever since the LSU game, when they embraced their methodology, when they realized who they were and they tailored the game plan and the identity to Jalen Milroe, they have skyrocketed. Now, last week against Auburn wasn't their best offensive performance, but if there's ever an example of winning while improvising, it was that last drive where Alabama was able to take the lead. But the beauty of college football is that it can work out both ways. We get a ton of exposure from the improvisational offenses and the offenses that are more methodical, or as you could say, a methodic actor like Daniel Day-Lewis. And I, for one, know they're both elite, and I cannot wait to see which methodology wins out at the end. I'm going to bring on David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, who I know is super duper excited about this past weekend. Congratulations, David. And my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver, who, like me, was, well, let's just say emotional after Auburn blew it once again in the Iron Bowl at home.
This weekend.
Not super duper excited. David, I want to start with you. When we look at this Alabama game, you look at Georgia coming in. They've gone about it totally different ways. Georgia is a 5-point favorite in Atlanta. I think one of the keys is that we've seen Georgia, and look, the Georgia Tech game, Georgia Tech was able to run the ball. I think Georgia's going to be a little bit different in this game defensively. But the quarterbacks that have given Georgia the most trouble are the quarterbacks that can obviously run. It brings that extra element to it. I expect to see Alabama embrace the quarterback design run more than they have at all this year. This is the SEC championship game. You either win and have a chance to make the playoff, there are no guarantees, or you lose and you have no chance to make there is no saving Jalen Milroe. And we know that the lateral part of the run game with quarterbacks has given Georgia the most trouble. I expect to see a ton of that this weekend. To me, it's a key for Alabama to continue to sustain drives because I don't think Jalen Milroe can sit back there and pick this Georgia secondary apart. And I don't think Alabama's going to be able to line up and just run power and counter right at the teeth of Georgia without Jalen Milroe on the RPO.
Of all the things I was expecting on championship week, the actor analogies was not on the bingo card, but I love it. That's what you're getting that at Crane & Company.
That's
nowhere
exactly
else.
Right.
The method actor.
That's stapled.
I mean, a couple things for both of these teams. Georgia just finished, their third straight regular season undefeated. I can't remember the last time they lost a game. I think we were in the College Football Hall of Fame doing a show right
lost to
before
Bama, right?
In Atlanta.
SEC championship game in December, right before they go beat the crap out of Michigan and then avenge that loss to Alabama. And the scariest part is Kirby Smart seems to be his best when he has a month to prepare for the postseason. And yet he's undefeated the last 3 regular seasons. It truly is incredible when you talk about playing an SEC schedule. And it's not like he just went out and got a couple big-time recruits who have carried a team for 3 years in a row and you create some sort of, short little dynasty. I mean, new quarterback this year, new offensive coordinator. I'm watching Todd Monken call plays for Lamar Jackson last night with the Ravens. Mike Bobo comes back in. Half the team he had that won the championship is on the Philadelphia Eagles now, winning in overtime against the Bills. It's truly incredible. And then on the other side of that, we watched Alabama get a shot with Texas. We thought, man, is Texas finally back? Texas comes into Tuscaloosa. They beat Alabama by 10 points. Jalen Milroe turns the football over multiple times. He gets benched. That game against South Florida when Alabama went on the road, it was one of the ugliest performances I've seen from the team. We're all thinking there's no way they run the table, especially with LSU in the West and all these teams in the West. They got to go on the road in the Iron Bowl. There's no way they run the table and make it to the SEC championship game. And that's exactly what they did. I'm not putting a whole lot of stock into the way Georgia played Georgia Tech this weekend or the way Alabama played Auburn in the Iron Bowl, except for one thing. There's something that the Auburn Tigers did, especially in the second half of that game. The first half, Jalen Milroe, like you said, man, he looked like he had the past few weeks. All the growth, man, he was getting through his progressions, tucking at the right time, mobile with his feet. But in the second half of that game, when Auburn really, was confusing him a bit on defense, getting after him, and it was a tight game, you saw him abandon after that first read and try and escape the pocket, the first moment that he could, which is something we saw earlier in the season. It started making me thinking, if it starts getting tight against Georgia late in a game like that, is that the Jalen Milroe we're going to see? Or will he deliver in the last moment like he did in the Iron Bowl, 4th and 31, figure out a way to make a play? I'm particularly interested in that. I like the line a little more at 3 where it opened a week ago.
Agree.
5 seems like a bit much with Nick Saban and the way that Alabama's been playing. What do you think about the line?
Well, look, right now I'm going to let it kind of play out, see how it goes. I'm leaning Georgia early, but here's where, if I'm an Alabama fan, I'd take solace in what you just brought up, David. Jalen Milroe's ability. If I am Tommy Rees against this Georgia team, where I have seen quarterbacks, because Georgia's defense is unbelievably athletic. We know that. They're a top 5 personnel defensive unit in the country when you look at guys that are going to play in the NFL. But I don't think they run as well sideline to sideline as the past 2 Georgia defenses have, especially up front. I think Jalen Milroe's escapability, I think he does need to be first read, second read, I'm gone. I think they need to utilize that. I think they need to utilize his improvisational skills because I don't think they're going to be able to line up and sit here and run different combinations at Georgia's secondary all day and have Jalen Milroe pick them apart. As crazy as it sounds, I would rather in this game have Jalen Milroe take off after the first read. If he reads man in his back turn, I think they'll get more big plays out of that than anything. Because, again, I would be shocked if you saw a ton of gap scheme run by Alabama against Georgia. What do I mean by that? Basically, runs designed where Jalen Milroe cannot keep the ball. I think everything will be built through RPO and zone reads, and they'd be smart to do that because that has given Georgia the most trouble. But on the other side, Blaine, you look at Georgia's offense going against Alabama's defense. Number one, nobody's been able to get to Carson Beck. Nobody's been able to touch him. I don't think Alabama's pass rush, even with Dallas Turner, can touch him. I think this offensive line from Georgia is the top 3 unit in the country, and they've only gotten healthier and healthier. But Carson Beck doesn't run very well. Not that he's unathletic or that he can't run, but you don't have to worry about Carson Beck pulling the ball at all if you're Alabama, right? There is one variable that is out of the equation. There is no Peyton Thorne. There is no Haynes King, right? You can go. There is no even Joe Milton that can somewhat run. So if you're Alabama, I think the biggest advantage you have is the ability of Jalen Milroe to not only run the ball by quarterback design, but run the scramble drill on the outside, hit a couple big plays, maybe extend a couple drives on 3rd and 8, because he's still the most athletic guy on the field. I would take Jalen Milroe's athleticism over anybody on Georgia's defense. I just would when the ball's in his hands and he's going forward.
Well, what do we know? One thing Georgia's defense has always been good at, one that's tackling in space.
Yeah.
They're one of the best teams in the nation in tackling in space. You go look at that Georgia Tech game, didn't do a great job of it. But you look at their offense, what was missing from Georgia? No Ladd, no Brock, no Rah-Rah, no Rutledge. A lot of kids out, they threw it, I think, 10 to 12 times less than they usually do. They scored 30 points the last 7 games in total, and they're only getting better and better. Carson Beck, they're one of the best third down teams in the nation.
They are the best third down.
The best third down team in the nation. They stay on schedule all the time. And Bama's shown, if anything, Georgia, you're excited. Bama can show they can get beat between the tackles. They showed that against Auburn. Auburn ran the football. That's what they did the entire game. I looked at one thing. It's halfway through the third quarter, and Peyton Thorne has 20 passing yards. And Georgia's only doing what? And running the football, getting better and better and better. So that could be a huge difference. Carson Beck's legs is not going to be a big thing. I don't think they're going to be able to get to Carson Beck, and he's too calm and collected in the pocket. Jalen Milroe needs to have the most carries on this football team for Alabama.
I agree.
I really think he does. The one thing that can hurt a Georgia defense that is super athletic, right, is that extra runner in the boxes. You have to account for him. And there's not a good enough player one-on-one in space, in my opinion, that will be able to tackle Jalen Milroe. But if anything, you take a note out of the Auburn playbook on the defense. You don't rush past him, all right? You stay integrity up front. Yep. You stay in front of him, and you make him beat you with tight passes, which he can throw sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's the way you have to beat Bama.
Yeah, well, and we want to know what you think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. But I think when you're looking at Alabama's defense, last week against Auburn, they had to worry about Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne was showing you that he was willing to keep the ball. Thought he should have kept it more in the first half. But with Carson Beck, I'm not worried about that. Georgia's not lining up and running zone read the whole game. They're not sitting here and running. The RPOs they're running don't involve Carson Beck running. It's, hey, maybe I'll read the slot corner or the nickel, whatever you call them, and I'll keep it and spit it to the slot. But he's not keeping it and running around the edge. You're not getting influence one way and Carson Beck keeping it and going the other way. It takes a huge variable out. It takes the eye manipulation out of it. But when I look at Georgia, Alabama has shown you multiple times this year that you can stop their run. You can limit their run. They've been up and down, even in this renaissance they've had since the LSU game. Obviously, Jalen Milroe's ability to run has helped out the running backs, but if you've got to start with, it's just like facing the triple option to me. You've got to kill the dive first. If you're playing Alabama, you have got to stop the running backs first, and then you get to Jalen Milroe. You have to beat them level by level. You can't just throw everything at once. You stop the run, you limit Jalen Milroe's ability to run, you get him in third and predictable passing downs, and then you go get him. The difference between Auburn and Georgia is Georgia has cats that could get Jalen Milroe on the ground. Auburn could run and get close to him, but they couldn't get him on the ground. They're not good enough. That's why you saw on that 3rd and 20, he's able to scramble. Jalen Milroe was able to scramble whenever he wanted to against Auburn because Auburn's personnel is very average on defense. It's the truth. Like women lie, men lie, numbers don't lie. Auburn's diving and sliding. And Jalen Milroe makes a lot of guys look average athletically. But Georgia does have the guys that can not only get there, but they have a chance to bring them down, something that Auburn could not do.
So do we know the status yet for Brock Bowers or Ladd McConkey?
Got to be playing. Got to be
playing. But are
playing.
they, I mean, was last week just a precautionary?
I think so.
I think
somewhat, especially for those two. Ra Thomas, I'm not 100% on. But if anything, you felt like with a 24.5-point spread walking into that game against Georgia Tech, you didn't have to put Brock and Ladd out there to go win that football game.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, you protect those guys that week because you got to have them in this game. This is a must to have in this game to beat this team. Because look, how many times has Kirby beat Nick in Atlanta?
Not a lot.
Zero times. He still has to look. I know they're back-to-back national champions, all right, but they still have to win this game in Atlanta, and they proved they haven't yet. So you need all the weapons in the arsenal to go against the Godfather and Nick Saban.
Definitely. Well, I'm interested to see where this line goes. Looking at it, DraftKings right now, Georgia's a 5-point favorite. The money's actually on them. It's at -112. The over-under is at 56. We want to know what you think. The phone lines are going to open up 7:15 a.m. Central, 8:15 a.m. Eastern. We got a ton to talk about. I'm going to get to the chat, then we're going to get to right and wrong.
Let's go to Carson Everett. I don't know if y'all remember this play in the Auburn game. This was interesting. We're on day 3 of waiting for CBS rules, guys, to explain how you can have 3 men in motion. Do y'all remember this play? It was 4th and 2.
Yeah.
I believe it was 4th and 2 in Auburn. And Auburn put a guy in the slot in motion and then shifted both tight ends at the same time. That's illegal. You can't.
Yeah, no, you can't do that. Nick Saban was losing his mind. Now
they called offside, right?
They called offsides. They called offsides. And look, it was a smart play by Auburn. Now, look, were they doing that on purpose? Were they trying to, do something illegal on purpose? I don't think so. That was a trade, what we call a trade motion. Yeah, I don't know what y'all called it when both tight ends flip from one side to the other. But I was trying to get, what should have happened is the slot guy should have motioned, should have stopped, and then you may have got something like that, and then you may have got that shift, that trade motion from the tight ends. But listen, I thought the officiating was very average in that game, starting with the face mask that was missed on the kickoff return, opening up one of the worst missed calls that you'll see. But officiating didn't cost Auburn that game. We're going to get to the Auburn one and right and wrong, but no, it's that was a penalty.
I was going to Chris Walton, hashtag Ask Cranico. Appreciate it, Chris. Please help me understand why the A&M fan base basically shut the door on Mike Stoops to turn around and hire a Jimbo Fisher guy.
Yeah, Mark Stoops, I know what you meant. Yeah, Chris blended Mike Elko and Mark Stoops there. We're going to get to the coaching carousel. I like the hire from A&M. I'm going to go into the details why when we get there. Just hold on, Chris, I promise. Just hold on. We're going home.
Let's go to Finley O with the $8 donation. Appreciate it, Finley. Says, stayed up in the middle of the night to watch the Ohio-Michigan game and the Iron Bowl. Great advertisement for college football. Congrats, Cone. Sad faces for the Crane boys.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, Auburn hadn't sent me a check yet. I'm going to get into it. Just an absolutely disgusting finish to that game. But you got to give credit to Alabama.
Yeah.
One group knows how to win. The other one doesn't. And that's one of the hardest things Hugh Freeze is going to have to build there. And if you're an Auburn fan, like, how can number one, you're dead inside anyways. So people ask, what do you mean you're dead inside? How can you be dead inside? Great example was last Saturday. But, at the end of the day, and we're going to get into it, Hugh Freeze and that staff, they have to earn the right from the fan base to trust them. But like, just at the end of games. We saw it all this year, and that's part of building. That's the hardest part, is to get that winning DNA. Those Alabama players knew they were going to win. Even if that last play was, even if the third down was snapped over his head, and the 4th and 34 play, 4th and 31, they knew that they were better and they were going to win. And look, good winners find a way to win. Losers find a way to lose. And right now, that's the difference in both of these programs. And you can cry about it. You can get upset. You can be a fan of one and say, oh, that's not true. Look at the last 2 games in Jordan-Hare. You had a 99.9% chance to win both of them, and you blew it. There's a poison right now in the culture of Auburn. They don't know how to win. They don't know how to finish. Either they don't believe or they can't execute. And you've got to kill both those problems if you're Hugh Freeze. And I think he will. But this was a missed opportunity for Auburn on what could be an early program change and win. And nobody's more sick than Hugh Freeze. And we're going to get into what happened on punt return, which is absolutely inexcusable here in a minute.
All right, let's go to Eddie. Hashtag AskCNC. Auburn exposed the outside zone of Alabama's defense. Will Georgia keep picking that sore until they bleed out in this game?
Look, Georgia's going to do what Georgia does. So like the best part about what Georgia has is that they may not have the most wide open style of offense. This may not be some like run and gun, fast pace, get in empty, quarterback design run offense that's thrown all over the place. They are so methodical, and it fits their personnel so well. Why does Alabama's work? Because it fits their personnel. Right? I know they want to get to murder ball, but this is the right offense at the right time for Alabama. Same thing for Georgia. This is a pro-style offense. This is an offense that can pitch backwards. When they want to throw it on first down, they can. Right? If they want to run it on second and long, they can. Everything is open. The tight ends are good. The wide receivers are coming along. But at the end of the day, what you have that is the ultimate flaming sword of Optimus Prime is protection. Carson Beck has better protection than all the world leaders put together. Excuse me, when you look at this offensive line. It's incredible. All right, one more.
All right, let's go to Helmson. What's up, brother? He says, if Alabama beats Georgia soundly, how would they not be one of the 4 best teams? Is it the 4 best or is it the 4 most deserving?
See, this is my problem, and I heard Feinbaum talking about this the other day with Stephen A. Like, when you talk about the 4 best, to me, the 4 best are the 4 most deserving.
I know.
Like, why do we separate these two? Like, the beginning of the season doesn't matter. And I know Feinbaum has to disagree with Mad Dog, and they do this pre-show thing where they decide who's going to agree on what, which I think is the wrong way to go about it, but they've made a lot of money doing it. And I got a lot of respect for him. But at the end of the day, like, to me, it's what you did the whole year, from the start to the finish. How am I supposed to sit here and say if Florida State beats Louisville, Florida State's not deserving, even without Jordan Travis? Like, I get if we're saying that, all right, listen, Liberty shouldn't get in, right, being undefeated, right, even though kudos to Jamie Chadwell and what they've done, right? They're not one of the 4 best or one of the 4 most deserving. If Washington goes undefeated, if Georgia goes undefeated, if Florida State goes undefeated and Michigan goes undefeated, you won every game the whole year. I don't care who got hurt, whose feelings got hurt, whoever had the most fan show, I don't care. You are the most deserving, and you're the best, right? To me, at the end of the year, you sit here and say, this team is 13-0, this team is 12-1. Who deserves it more? The team that's 13-0. Who's the best? The team that's 13-0. And then I see some people say, oh, well, Alabama's playing better than Texas. You want to talk about deserving or the best? You know who deserves it? The team that went into your house week 2 and beat you by double digits. You know who's the best? The team that went into your house and beat you by double digits. I hate how we separate this like all of a sudden. And I know schedules are different and strength of schedule is different. That all makes sense. And I understand an undefeated Washington jumping Florida State. I can get behind that because they're both undefeated, right? But when we get into this, oh, head-to-head doesn't matter. It only matters how you're playing at the end. That's ridiculous. That is recency bias, and deserving and best, I think, go hand in hand a lot more than what people talk about it.
The ultimate decider of the 4 best teams is the football field. That's why we play the games, right? I don't trust Paul Feinbaum to sit here and tell me who the 4 best teams are. And if it just goes off the Vegas lines and whoever's favored by Vegas is the best teams and those are the 4 we want to put in there, then I would just take the favorite team every single week and I would never lose a bet for the rest of my life if Vegas knew every...
Sports would be boring.
Well, this is the same guy who said the Nick Saban dynasty was dead.
Yeah.
It died.
As they're going to the SEC
Every time he plays a close game, the Nick Saban dynasty is dead. But
it works,
he plays
man.
that.
Have the people just eat it up. They just eat it.
Then he plays that, and then he does
mind.
everything he can to try to get as many SEC teams in the playoffs to try and push it. It's kind of hilarious. Let's go to Dom here. Hashtag Ask Kranikos. Interesting question. Should Ryan Day give up offensive play calling for Ohio State?
Yeah, that's a great segue. Let's go ahead and get into right and wrong here, Dad.
Right and wrong? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and take the Michigan and Ohio game where I was right then because I really thought that we were in for an incredible football game. I didn't see one team pulling away from the other like we had seen these past 2 years. On Ryan Day calling the plays, look, that's something that he's going to have to decide for himself. Jim Harbaugh called the plays for Michigan when he first got there. Lincoln Riley still calls the plays. We've seen it done, but I think someone called in the other day with a stat that said no coach who still calls their offensive plays has won a national championship in the past, I don't know, X number of years. We need whoever put that in the chat, please tell us again. But I've been disappointed with some of Ryan Day's behavior down the stretch of this season, whether it was the Lou Holtz thing or some of this stuff with the Michigan allegations. But I'll say this, he came in and had a team ready to play. They built an incredible program. They came in ready to play football. I thought Jim Knowles, that this defense was legitimately improved from last season. I think you saw that play out. They did everything they needed to be able to win the football game. I have nothing really negative to say with the way Ryan Day came in and had his team ready to play. To me, it's all about the Michigan side with all the turmoil they've had to deal with and the controversy, and you've missed your head coach for 50% of the season. What other team in Power 5 could go undefeated throughout that. And Sharon Moore to be able to step in. Remember, not only was he was stepping into the OC role this year too. He was co-offensive coordinator last year. Matt Wise fired for whatever, stuff that he was doing that was wrong. Sharon Moore steps up. Now he's the head coach and the OC and the offensive line coach for 4 games this season. I thought he pitched a perfect game Saturday, and the way that team responded, it lets me know the brotherhood that's going on inside the Michigan football building, and it's impressive to see.
Yeah, I don't think Ohio State lost that game because of Ryan Day's play calling, right? I think they lost that game because in the critical moments, just like we talked about, they made the mistakes and Michigan didn't. The early turnover in your own territory that kind of led to the beginning of the end a little bit with Michigan getting ahead. Now you're playing catch up. Even though I thought Kyle McCord answered the bell a couple times, I thought that was the best part of the Michigan-Ohio State game, was every time somebody would do something, the other team would answer. That's what a great rivalry game is. But Michigan in a game that was going to be decided by 3 to 5 plays, right? We talk about teams lose games. They don't win them most of the time. You saw Ohio State flinch first. You saw Ohio State flinch first on 4th down. What did Ryan Day do on the first 4th and 1? He punted. What did Sharon Moore do on 4th and 2? He went for it. You set the tone saying, we're not aggressive, we're smart. I think that's a difference that people need to understand. That was a smart call by Sharon Moore. Even if they wouldn't have got it, I think it shows your players, hey, guess what? Jim Harbaugh isn't here. We're still going to be ourselves. We're still going to be confident. I don't think the play calling was a problem for Ohio State. It's in those critical moments. And this is what the best teams do. This is what the better teams do. Michigan made the play. Zinner goes down. He gets hurt. Everybody's emotional. Next play, Blake Corum, that offensive line, they push him back. Blake Corum's able to score from 20 yards out? It just goes to show you, I think Michigan has more leadership. That's what I think it is. And I think Kyle McCord's a new quarterback going on the road in the Big House to play in his first ever rivalry game against Michigan, when Michigan may have their best team that we've seen. I do want to ask you quickly, David, before I get into where I was right. Sharon Moore, we haven't heard his name pop up for head coaching jobs. You didn't hear it at Michigan State. Is that because of this scandal? Do you think there's going to be some sort of taint with the assistant coaches?
Oh, no. I've heard his name getting thrown around.
See, I haven't.
Even on the On3 list that we had, I mean, we glossed over it, but on the top 15 list that On3 first put out for the Texas A&M job, his name was down there near the very bottom. So at least he's in the conversation. He's still a young guy. I think he's 37, 38, something like that. But I don't know. We had talked with Steve Dace, and we asked, if Michigan loses this game, has Jim Harbaugh coached his last game at Michigan? And obviously, we don't know. I don't even know if he knows sometimes.
Not now.
I don't know what he wants.
Not now.
Sharon Moore is going to be a head coach at some point.
For sure.
Think, Blaine?
100%. Yeah, I do, especially with the way he performed this year when they needed him the most. But I really don't think we're talking about this Michigan team enough. And I go back to what P.J. Fleck said after they played him. It's the best college football team he's ever seen in his coaching career. They're deep, they're strong, they're fast, they're tough, and they're not one of the type of team to get in your face and start talking shit to you. They're not. They're a type of team that walks up to you and punches you in the face. And then somebody has to pull them off of you. This whole sign stealing, this whole whatever it is, you could show up on any field, no electronics, for 4 hours, and they will kick your ass. And they're not afraid of you. But every monster has its nightmares, right? Every monster does. And I still think that monster's walking around Athens right now. And that'll be the true test.
Well, look, it's picked Michigan to win it. I'm sticking with it.
Stick with them, baby.
Sticking with it. But by the way, I do want to say, anybody that thinks Ryan Day should be fired, I understand. People say, "What, Jake? What do you mean? He's won all these games." I'm not saying he should be, but I understand. We always say it's just like the Iron Bowl. You can go 0-11, and if you win this game, it's a successful year. That flips on its head too. You can go 11-1, and if that one loss is not only to your rival, but the person in your division that keeps you from playing for the Big Ten championship game to give you a chance to go to the college football playoff, that should matter. When you sign up to be the head coach at Ohio State, you sign up realizing you have to beat Michigan. Same thing when you sign up to be the head coach at Michigan. You are judged on what you do in that game. Hundreds of years from now, they will not care what you did against Michigan State. They will not care what you did against Indiana. They will not care what you did against Iowa. They will care what you did against your rival. And when you lose multiple games, 3 in a row now, and without Jim Harbaugh even being there, I do understand the questions. People should be pissed off. You get paid all this money and there's an expectation, right? When you go to Ohio State, you're supposed to beat Michigan. Not saying you have to beat them every year, right? That's asking too much. What, Urban Meyer did, 7-0? Urban Meyer's 7-0 against them? That's incredible.
Insane.
That's absolutely incredible. So the standard's raised even more. But all this crying, and listen, Ryan Day's not going to get fired. The only way Ryan Day's not the head coach at Ohio State is if he goes to the NFL. So they're not going to fire him. But say me this, oh, well, he shouldn't be under any pressure. You're under pressure every single day. You signed up to be in this rivalry. But where I was right, Auburn was going to play it close and find a way to lose it. Or Alabama, let me put it this way. Auburn's going to play it close, and Alabama was going to find a way to win it. But here's where you're sick if you're an Auburn fan. You caught every single break that you needed to win this game. Every single break. 2 touchdowns called back. Were they penalties? I believe so. It's a blindside block. It was a hold. But you had 2 touchdowns called back. Will Reichert missed a field goal. You were able to run the ball. The offensive line stepped up and played well. You got stops when you had to get stops. They upheld the incomplete call to Burton on the sideline on 3rd down. You had a chance. Everything you could have asked for was given to you. You're at home, and you blew it. You blew it. That's what hurts the most. And you got to give credit to Alabama, right? Culturally, they expect to win. Watching that game, I was waiting to see Auburn find a way to lose. And they did. And I hate saying that, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you that's the difference in Auburn and Alabama right now. That outside of bringing in great players, that's the biggest thing Hugh Freeze has got to get out of this program. That losing thought. And it's not just saying, it's not going in the game saying, oh, we're just not going to lose. You got to execute on the field. The real ones make that play at the end of the game. The real ones find a way to win. I grew up waiting to watch how Auburn was going to win the game. Watching Quentin Groves, watching Stanley McClover, watching Zach Etheridge, watching the Irons brothers, watching Brandon Cox. Auburn's culture right now, they don't know how to win. They're waiting to find a way. They're waiting to find an excuse. Oh, well, we put our backup returner in. Oh, well, we rushed 2. And we can get into it. Number one, Hugh Freeze said in the post-game press conference that he didn't even realize it was Coy Moore in the game. How does that happen? I've been on the sidelines. How does that happen? Either one of 2 things had to happen. One, either Keontae Scott, they both wore number 0, said, I'm hurt. I got to pull myself out. You got to put the backup in. And in that case, the head coach should have been notified. He should have been notified. Second thing is, second option, the special teams coordinator put Coy Moore in there, or Coy Moore put himself in there. And both of those are equally egregious. And if that's the truth, and I don't want to see anybody get fired, but Tanner Burns, I'm telling you, and I don't know exactly what happened, the special teams coordinator at Auburn, if he either put Coy Moore in there and Keontae Scott didn't pull himself out, or Coy Moore just went out there, you should be fired. You should be fired. You should pay the price for that. Because that is a coaching mistake. You made that mistake. You should have to pay the price. You make way too much money. I've been in that spot before. Not at Auburn, but I've been this. There's no way in hell the head coach doesn't know who the punt returner is, the most important punt returner of the year. So I need to know how that went down. The second thing is people talking about rushing 2 on that last play. To me, I think you rush 2 when the Hail Mary is not an option. When you cannot throw it far enough to reach the end zone. That's when you rush 2. I think you rush 3 at least. At least. But here's a predicament Ron Roberts was in. And I feel him on this a little bit. Auburn could not get there rushing 4. They could not get there the whole night rushing 4. And the few times they did get there, they couldn't get him down, even when they pressured him. But if you're going to rush 4 there, you are taking a guy out of coverage. So you're going to sit here and say, all right, we're going to rush 4, and I'm only going to have 7 to be able to cover. Or we can rush 2, and I can have 9.
Yeah.
But if you're going to rush 2, you have got to make sure nobody is soloed up on the outside.
Yeah.
It was a lack of execution. I thought the call could have been better, but I do understand where he was coming from. I would have just rushed 3, and if you're going to bring 4, rush 3 with a late insert, right? Because typically what happens, that was basically a Hail Mary, if we're going to be honest. That's as about Hail Mary range. I thought he was going to roll out to one side, and they were going to push all the receivers to one side and throw the ball up as a Hail Mary. But even though you get soloed, you got to make that play, man. You got to make that play. There is no push off. There is no, oh no, it's offensive pass interference. He big dogged you in the biggest moment. That's culture. That's personnel. That's having that dog in you, and Auburn doesn't have it right now. The real ones don't mess that play up. And that's where Auburn is. That's why you got to bring them. That's why the Falk kid, the young kids, the guys at wide receiver, you can't just bring in great players. You got to bring in winners at Auburn. You got to bring in winners, guys that know how to win. Guys at that last play say, please, God, throw it at me. Please throw it at me. Please, on 4th and inches, run it at me. Give me a chance to make the play. The Auburn players ducked the smoke at the end. At least a couple of them did. Not all of them. Some of them stepped up. That offensive line at Auburn should get a lot of credit. I think Peyton Thorne should get a decent amount of credit. Javarius Johnson should get a lot of credit. But it's not all of them. And that's the problem at Auburn. It's not all of them. And the next time, if I see Zion Puckett run out at safety one more time for Auburn, I'm going to puke. This man ought to hit the portal like it's Mortal Kombat. That dude's blown more big moments for Auburn than anybody. And guess what? In the NIL era, David, I'm going to call you out on it. Y'all get paid now. You wanted to be in part of the business? Well, you're in the business now, and you're going to get judged like it. But at the end of the day, it comes down to culture. It comes down to being a winner or a loser in that last moment. And Alabama showed you why they're where they're at and why Auburn got their ass beat by New Mexico State last week.
Well, I think it's gut-wrenching for a lot of guys on that field.
It is.
Because a lot of them earned it. A lot of them earned it. A lot of guys left it all out there and played a football game.
I agree.
The thing I'm confused about is this. First of all, the last 8 minutes of that game was grossly mismanaged by special teams and the defensive staff. Ryan Roberts came out and kind of gave a comment after the last play. Said, well, Jalen Milroe did a great job sitting in the pocket and patting the ball and waiting on someone to get open. Well, duh. You brought 2 people. He could have sat back there the entire day. But I don't know. Ryan Roberts said he ran a 3-trail defense, all right? Nobody should be trailing anybody in this play, all right? And we've seen this. If you're going to bring 2, and with the spy, there's no way, and this is junior varsity football stuff, there's no way anybody could be solo covered in the end zone. You have zones. And first of all, Auburn came out of a timeout and lined up incorrectly. Yeah. If you go back and watch that play, there is a guy pushing. There was nobody in the middle of the field. There's a guy pushing somebody in the middle of the field pre-snap to get him to go back, and he has to run across the formation. If you go back, Auburn had 3 players with their back turned to the quarterback.
Unacceptable.
See, that's the problem more than the rush 2 to me. I didn't mind the rush 2 because of the spot on the field. If you put them back at midfield where you have to throw a true Hail Mary, that gives anyone in the end zone time to get over to where the ball's being thrown. So if you rush 4 and you drop 7, 7 should be enough with a high arcing Hail Mary. From the 30, you're having to throw a little bit more of a frozen rope. I like 2 extra bodies in there. I mean, you talk about having all day to throw. It's 4th and goal from the 32. You know, I like having the extra bodies in there, but why is your back turned to the quarterback?
It's again, you can see right now, Auburn finds a way to lose the game. They go back to Georgia, they find a way to lose it. Go back to Ole Miss, they find a way to lose it. Like you got to get over that hump. That's the hardest part to me, and I think Hugh Freeze will get past it. But goodness gracious, how do you not line up right coming out of a timeout in the biggest play all year? How do you put the backup punt returner out there and the head coach doesn't know it? What's going on at Auburn? Like, what? Do you think that would ever happen in Alabama?
That's the worry thing about it. Like,
that's what worries me.
There's a lot of positives you can.
And I love Hugh Freeze. I hope it works out for Hugh Freeze. But how does that happen? That's what would keep me up at night. You know what? Bryce Young 2 years ago led a 99-yard drive where they were just better than you. They made the plays. I can live with that. Auburn handed them this game. And that's what makes you sick. And the coaches had an effect. And the players had an effect, obviously. It was a wholesome loss. But like Blaine said, there were some guys that left it all out there that played unbelievably well. And I want to give those guys their flowers. Alabama's just got more of them than Auburn.
Yeah, and if you're Auburn right now and you're behind where Georgia and Alabama are and you're trying to get and build your program up to those levels and you're going to lose to both those programs, there's only a couple ways to do it. Either one, you're getting blown out by them, right? Or you're losing heartbreaking games like this. They played Georgia, who we just said hadn't lost a game in 2+ years. They played Georgia to 7 points, and they had Alabama beat. I know it hurts worse than just getting blown out by 50 points, but to me, I think it's better for the direction of the Auburn program to at least be playing those.
From a recruiting standpoint, yes. In the Georgia game, like, Georgia's just better than Auburn. Like, that 4th quarter, Georgia just decided we're better than you. I can live with that. I can put my head on the pillow. Guess what? Science is science, physics is physics. But when it comes down to the Auburn-Alabama game, Auburn had a hand in losing that game. That wasn't just Alabama out-talenting you. That was Alabama out-coaching you. That was Alabama out-preparing you. That was Alabama out-clutching you, right? And you handed it to them. You handed it to him. Coy Moore handed it to him. So it just, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
I can because it's Auburn. They're the Bills of college football. At least they have been for a while. But now guess what? You get to go on the road to Georgia and Bama next year. Good luck. Best of luck. It just, if you're Alabama, congratulations. I want to congratulate the Alabama fan base. You guys went and took it at the end, but goodness gracious, how embarrassing.
Yeah, what I was right about this weekend, I'll just say rivalry week in general, man. I don't think I was right, but everybody was right about it. What a phenomenal Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's not only a lot of the games were great, but you could see the hate between teams. All right, you could see the hate, but you could also see the respect at the end of it. Yeah. Like, look, we can't live without you. Alabama, we can't live without you. Alabama can't live without us. You know, Michigan can't live without Ohio State. Ohio State can't live without Michigan. Man, this is what college football is about. It's your neighbor, right? You talk as much crap to him on a Saturday, and next thing you know, on a Sunday, you're sitting there eating dinner together, having a great time. So it's just a phenomenal week for college football players, coaches, and fans, and this is what college football is about, man. So I think it just lived up to the hype on Saturday.
Amen. Yeah. All right, I'll go wrong quickly. Kentucky beating Louisville 38-31. And you know what frustrates me about it the most, and this is why I always, hone in on where I was wrong, where I go against my gut, because everything that I said when Steve Dace was on our pick'em was Kentucky is going to play this team close. The 7 points on the spread never made sense to me. An in-state rivalry, one of the best that we see talking about college football. I wanted to pick Kentucky, but I ended up going Louisville because the game was at Louisville, and I decided to go with the under. With these defenses and the way they run the football, both of those aspects I was wrong on. Kentucky goes and wins a good football game and the overhead, I think, even before the fourth quarter started. Yeah. So hats off to the Wildcats and Mark Stoops and everything they've done. But, hey, Louisville, you're going to get your chance. Right? Yeah. You're in the ACC championship, and we'll find out more in a couple days.
Yeah, you weren't making the playoff anyways. But, again, you talk about Mark Stoops, one of those huge wins to get to that next contract. I mean, we heard him being a finalist for the Texas A&M job. Yeah. Obviously, that didn't work out with Mike Elko. We're going to get into that. Where I was wrong, I picked Texas to win. But I thought Texas Tech was going to be able to air it out and have some success because we've watched this Texas secondary and really defense in general struggle here lately, kind of regress back to the mean. But boy, did that secondary, they may have played their best game all year. In fact, I think you could say they did. They held Baron Morton, who had success. Tyler Shuck got hurt. He's in the transfer portal now. Earlier in the year, they kind of rotated quarterbacks, landed on Morton. We've seen him have success. He finished 19 for 36 for 88 yards and 3 interceptions. So I'm going to give credit to Texas's defense. What a big momentum shift. And Oklahoma State holding on to beat BYU. I know we're going to get in and preview this Texas game here in a minute. But I just want to give kudos to the Texas defense in general, but especially the secondary. They showed up and showed out in a game where they weren't looking ahead, right? And I think it helps sometimes when you don't know who you're going to play. It's hard to look ahead to somebody when you don't know who they are. But when I look at this Texas defense, are they kind of coming back into form a little bit? Because if we're looking at one-loss teams, and we're going to get into scenarios all week, but if you end up with a one-loss Bama, a one-loss Oregon, and a one-loss Texas, and we're talking about trying to get in that final college football playoff spot, man, that's going to be a hell of an argument.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I was wrong about Florida. This week I had Florida winning this game against Florida State.
I don't think that was crazy.
Yeah, Florida and Auburn were my dog pace, so it was kind of a rough one. Those kind of hurt. But, where I was wrong was them about winning the game, but where I was right was about Billy Napier. I think if you watch this Florida team, these Florida players, they're undisciplined. I don't think they really have much respect for their coaches. I don't know if you saw the freshman, a coach tried to grab a guy and he slapped him off of and pushed him off of mid-play. They make the worst decisions at the worst times. I mean, you go back and look, 3rd and 14, you can get the ball back and get a stop to win the game. The quarterback rolls out for 8 yards, and 2 guys literally try to spear him through the ground. And I think it's not going to get easier for Billy Napier. I don't think it was the right hire, and I think you can see that. And it comes from the top, and discipline comes from the top, and that starts with the head coach. And I think he's slowly losing the grip on this football team, and I don't expect it to get better. So if you're watching Florida, I think Florida fans will agree with me if you watch this team, because there's not a lack of talent. Florida will always have talent, but it starts with discipline at the top, and Florida does not have that right now.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think they're going to fire Billy Napier because the 2024 schedule is so brutal. Yeah. You don't want to fire him and start a rebuild under that year, and then all of a sudden it's an awful year, and you start this process all over again. And listen, Tate Rodemaker, 12 out of 25, 134 yards. Didn't make the big mistake, right? Didn't make the big mistake. Max Brown, 9 of 16, 86 yards. Again, I told you this was going to be the quick screen and quick game bowl when it came to the passing game because you knew both teams were going to load up on the run. Benson got 19 carries, did have those 3 touchdowns. That was huge, obviously. Montrell Johnson, 18 carries, 107 yards and a touchdown. Trevor Etienne, 10 carries, 43 yards. Florida State ended up with under 100 yards rushing. Now, you look in college, obviously they take away the sack yardage, which I don't think they should. They don't do that in the NFL when it comes down to rushing yards. But Florida State just had to survive. You got to survive one more week if you're Florida State. Because I think you're in. You're undefeated, you're in.
Yep.
I think if you're Florida State. Because when I look at it, we're going to get into the Oregon and Washington pick. It's going to get interesting down the stretch. But the phone lines are open. I want to get to them quickly here. I want to get to the chat real quick, Blaine.
All right, let's go to Leo Maltos. # Ask Crane Company. Leo, appreciate it, brother. How much did these last 2 wins means for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, went from under 500 to a chance to win a bowl game in year 1?
Yeah, Wisconsin's been one of my biggest disappointments all year. I expected that the combination of Phil Longo, former OC at North Carolina, has got a lot of air raid principles, mixed with Tanner Mordecai coming in from SMU, who, by the way, shout out to our boy Rhett Lashley, SMU 10-2. What a hell of a year. I'm not. They're going to the ACC, so you're not hearing his name as much like at these other places. I think he's going to ride that pony out, pun intended.
Well done.
But I want to make sure I give him a shout out. But it was massive. You want that momentum going into the end of the year, right? Because that's that last taste you get. What's one of the worst parts about that Auburn loss to Iron Bowl? That's the last regular season game you get. That's the last taste you have in your mouth until you get to taste, the Duke's Mayo Bowl against, Georgia Tech or South Central Louisiana State. The Mud Dogs. So, look, I think it's huge. You want that momentum going in. Luke Fickell, I tell you, just as much as Penn State benefits from there not being divisions anymore in the Big Ten, man, if you're Wisconsin, you're Luke Fickell like, damn. I want those divisions. I want to stay in that Big Ten West.
No doubt.
All right, let's go to Ozoki Andrew. He says Colorado lost another top recruit this weekend, lost a 3-star O-lineman, a 4-star receiver, and a top 4 QB. Do recruits see Deion as a temporary coach, or have the Buffs been exposed as frauds? We saw RG3 come out with a tweet this weekend praising about how great of a job Deion Sanders is doing at Colorado.
Yeah, well, didn't he have the same record as McIntyre did after his first year? It's amazing how that narrative gets flipped real quick. I still believe in what Prime's doing at Colorado, though. I don't think recruiting is going to be a problem.
That's the least of their problems.
Yeah, I'm worried more about why would you demote Sean Lewis halfway through the year. The mechanics of coaching a college football team. I thought Deion put a great staff around him. I think Charles Kelly's a really good coach. People say he didn't have the personnel this year. There's only so much you can do. He doesn't know magic. He can't jump on his Nimbus 3000 and go be able to figure it out with a Patronus spell or whatever. But listen, we're going to find out about Deion. The honeymoon will end eventually. Next year, now there's expectations, right? It's the hardest part isn't getting there, it's staying there. And I know they won 3 games, didn't exactly getting there, 4 games, whatever it was. But at the end of the day, Colorado has upped themselves. I view Colorado in a different light. Can you sustain that? Now, the quarterback decommitting, Shadur's coming back. I'm not, like David said, I'm not worried about recruiting with Deion. I think it's the whole encompassing of running a program that's that big when you haven't done that before, and the managerial moves, like the demoting of Sean Lewis. I don't understand that. When the offensive line couldn't block somebody on social media. It's not Sean. Offense wasn't the problem.
No, it wasn't. The biggest thing that stood out to me for Colorado this year was they overperformed massively when they were the hunters, and they underperformed massively when they were the hunted. Well, when you're Deion Sanders and you're getting all the big-time recruits, and I think there's going to be a flood of transfer portal guys that go out to Colorado, he's going to have his pick of the litter. I think any time that he's a head coach at any program, like you said, once you have expectations now moving in and you start to become the team that everyone's hunting, can you overperform? I mean, that Nick Saban is getting everyone's best shot week in and week out, and he still finds a way to win those games no matter what.
It's the date night rule. Like, if I take my wife on date night for the first time to a really nice place, guess what I got to do? Guess what's expected the next time? You go to a really nice place. Like that's the standard now. You set the standard. You have to live up to that standard each time, and that's what we're going to find out about Deion Sanders. All right, David, I want to get to new hires, but first
I want to get to new hires, too.
Yeah, I want to remind everybody that this is your final day to save on the best deals of the year. Daily Wire's annual memberships are 50% off. Do not miss this opportunity to join at the lowest price of the year. It gives you unlimited access to all of the exclusive ad-free, uncensored content from all of us, along with on-demand access to groundbreaking entertainment and eye-opening documentaries that are reshaping the cultural landscape. Wink, wink. Plus, your Daily Wire membership unlocks the Daily Wire's new kids entertainment app, BentKey. The absolute best thing I can say to you as a parent about BentKey is, and David, you speak better this to me. I know your kids watching, you don't have to worry about it when they walk away. You can get up to 40% off all Jeremy's Razors products. Don't miss out on all the deals inside the Daily Wire Black Friday gift guide. Shop the deals now at dailywire.com/Black Friday. The phone lines are open up. I'm going to get to them. Let's get to these new hires quickly.
Let's talk about these new hires. No doubt, Texas A&M is finalizing a deal with Mike Elko to be their new head coach. We've been speculating for a while. You said, look, the longer this goes on, the less of a chance it's going to be Urban Meyer because you would have already locked him up to get a jump on recruiting. I think you were dead right on that. Mike Elko, former defensive coordinator, spent the last 2 years at Duke, 9-win season in his first year, 7 wins this year when quarterback Riley Leonard went down. You like this hire?
I do. Look, is it the sexiest hire? No, right? Is Mike Elko sending shockwaves around the nation like an Urban Meyer would? Do I think he's going to have the success that Urban Meyer would? No, I thought Urban Meyer was the guy. Texas A&M wanted the most proven commodity that they could have had. You wanted the safest bet to be able to finally win big. I thought it was Urban Meyer. But here's the Mike Elko situation to me. Number one, he knows the lay of the land. He knows the way it works at Texas A&M. He was a defensive coordinator there, right? If you go back and watch his time there, A&M, I thought he was the best coach on staff. Mm-hmm. I really do believe that. Then you go see what he goes and does at Duke. We talk about Lance Leipold and what he's done at Kansas, and that's fantastic. By the way, shout out to the Northwestern former interim head coach, now head coach. Name escapes me. We're talking about Deion Sanders. We're going to be talking about him.
Where are you talking about?
They're talking about the Northwestern coach.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes down to Mike Elko, I think he's got a little bit more nuance to him than meets the eye. I don't think he's just some tough ass just going to rah, 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 like Ed Orgeron around there, just going around screaming at everybody. I think he's a savant when it comes to the schematics of what's going on. He knows how to prepare a team. And if you're A&M, NIL is such a huge part of recruiting now. You have a lot of the recruiting taken care of. A&M's problem is not getting the talent there. It's been developing the talent. That's been their biggest problem. And I think that's where Mike Elko shines the most, because I think Mike Elko gets the most out of his players. That's the best, at least for what we've seen so far. And does anybody know for sure? Hell no. Not even, we don't know. Mike Elko doesn't have the biggest sample size as a head coach. But from what we've seen, he got every inch out of everything that Duke had to offer. Now, it's different when you go from a place like Duke, where you're expected to just be average, and you can not overpromise, right, but overdeliver. At A&M, you've got to deliver, and you're expected to deliver. But I think Mike Elko, while it may not be the sexiest thing, I think he knows how to hire. I think he knows how to get guys fired up, and I think he knows how to develop them. And develop them isn't just kissing their ass. Mm-hmm. Isn't just, oh, what can I do for you? Oh, how can I help you? It's, guess what? I'm going to love you up when I need to love you up. I'm going to be tough on you when I need to be tough on you. But he realizes, like every coach that's worth their salt, like every great player that's worth their salt, is that great players want to be coached hard. Yeah. That's the right way, and I think he's going to do that. And it may take a little bit of time, but I like the hire a lot. I'm not in love with the hire. I don't think it was a grand slam. I think it was a solid double to left center.
Speaking about tough, Blaine, you've been as tough on Texas A&M as anyone, right? So I want to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, Kevin Sumlin in year one went 11-2. He had a Heisman Trophy winner in Johnny Manziel. Jimbo Fisher never won double-digit games at Texas A&M. They were 9-1 in the COVID year. They did have he did have 3 bowl wins there. I think they're 12-12 the past 2 seasons. They hire Mike Elko. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a good hire. I worry about this. One, he's a great defensive play call schematically. He can get it all out of the guys who look back at that A&M defense when he was there. They were phenomenal. It's the offensive side for me. You got Riley Leonard. All right, you walked into having Riley Leonard at Duke, which is huge. So it's going to come down to this. Michael was sure the defense up, but it's going to come down to who you hire. Your coordinator hires on offense.
Keep Petrino.
Yeah, does he stay?
I would.
I mean, I wouldn't mind that. To be honest, if you can keep him, yeah. You have Wegman, who has proven he can be nice. Statistically, he was phenomenal. But it's the offensive side of the ball that worries me if you're A&M, right? I mean, their defense have played well this year. All right, their offense have been through a lot. I mean, your starting quarterback goes down, you have Max come in. It just wasn't the same when he went out. So, yeah, you have one side of the ball shored up. So it's going to come down to one, retaining kids, all right? Not letting it all crumble, all right? You already saw some guys not take the trip to LSU, Evan Stewart, a couple good key pieces. You have to make sure you retain kids, especially your best players. And two, if you keep Petrino, how is that offense going to move, all right? Because, look, you're a head coach now. All right, of Texas A&M. So it's not just the defensive side of the ball. It's all-encompassing. So that's what I'm interested to see, how this offensive side of the ball is going to work.
Yeah. Well, I think naturally you worry about the other side of the ball where the head coach didn't have his expertise on. But I will tell you this. To know one, you got to know the other. To know defense, you got to know what gives you trouble on offense. You know the guys who give you a problem from a play calling standpoint. You know what play calls do give you trouble. Right? To me, I would keep Petrino. When it comes to retaining kids, this is where I think Mike Elko has an advantage. Most of those kids, he's been there.
Yeah.
They have a relationship with him. This isn't some new stepdad just walking in off the street saying, hey, just start calling me dad. Like, no, you know him, right? You understand why he left. That makes sense. You're a defensive coordinator. You got a chance to go be a head coach. I respect that. So I think he'll retain the ones that he wants to retain, but sometimes it's not about retaining. Sometimes it's about trimming the fat. I still think A&M's got a little bit of fat to trim left for Mike Elko to shape that thing the way that he wants. So, no, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think Wegman has a chance to be special. I said that before this year. Yeah. I continue to believe that. I hated to see him get hurt.
I believe, he needs to come back. I think he'll come back strong. Max Johnson's transferring as well, right?
Max
He's in the
Johnson
portal again, and he came from LSU. All right, two more here. Mississippi State's going to hire Oklahoma OC Jeff Lebby. I think this is a fantastic hire. Obviously, rest in peace, Mike Leach. Zach Arnett came in year one.
I think they reached out to Lebby. I think they knew Lebby would take the job, and then they fired Zach Arnett.
Oh, you think that's the order of operations? And that's how it should happen.
I think they reached out to Jamie Chadwell and Jeff Lebby.
Gotcha.
I think Chadwell said maybe, then eventually said no, and Lebby said yes. And think about this dynamic. Who is Lebby boys with? Lane Kiffin. He was the OC at Ole Miss. Boy, the Egg Bowl just got a lot hotter. It just got, you talk about over. I don't care what it is. Whatever the early line for the over of next year's Egg Bowl is, I am taking it. It is going to be up-tempo. This is going to give us some incredible games. Jeff Lebby is one of the best play callers in the country. Quarterbacks want to play for him. I'm not saying Arch Manning's going to Mississippi State because I don't think he is. But with Quinn Ewers coming back, the Manning family and the Lebby family are like this. So is there a chance? And Texas fans I know right now are saying, laughing at Mississippi State from their ivory tower or whatever. I'm just telling you. This man, Jeff Lebby, is a wit. And people say, oh, well, there's been some play calls where he didn't trust Dylan Gabriel. I'm telling you, in aggregate, when you look at Jeff Lebby's coaching career and his coaching arc, this man knows offense. Now, we talk about Mike Elko. You know defense. Do you know offense? We're going to find out Jeff Lebby as a head coach because we don't know. But I think this is a home run, grand slam hire for Mississippi.
I do too, and his name's been getting tossed around for a while. But Blaine, we had several Oklahoma fans call in throughout the season, down the stretch after those losses to Kansas and Oklahoma State, saying that they were disappointed with the play calling with Jeff Lebby.
It's hilarious.
I'd love to be disappointed.
You and I were just laughing at this. It's kind of like what we said about Colorado and Deion with Sean Lewis. Like, that's not the side of the ball that's been the problem. What's this going to mean now for Oklahoma moving forward when your OC goes and takes the Mississippi State head job?
I heard some Cliff Kingsbury talk, to be honest, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try to go get Petrino from A&M. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I think
that's such a switch up from what – but Brent is a defensive guy, Venables. Does he really want to be running that hurry up? Like is
Nick Saban didn't want to do it either.
In the SEC, is that really what you want to do? You want to bring that in here and you saw Tennessee have some success with it one year, but you, just like any offense, you better have the right guy pulling the trigger at quarterback. But boy, that you're asking for that defense to be out there in a lot of snaps.
Well, look, at the end of the day, you got to score points. All right, you got to score points. So whatever the offense side is that you see is best fit to do that, that's the offense you roll with. I think this is a home run hire. Lebby's one of the best in the nation schematically and calling plays. And look, Jeff Levy's like Lane Willis. Kiffin. I'm my buddy named Lane Willis. I talked to him this weekend. He is having a baby.
That's probably one of his
He's having he is. He just found out his wife's pregnant, so that's why he's on mic. Congrats, Willie. But they want to run the football. That's what both of them want to do at Oklahoma, at Ole Miss. They want to run the football. So that's a great start if you're Mississippi State because he's going to build where first? Yeah. He's going to build up front first, but we're going to see him in the head coaching role, and a lot of guys can't transition to it. Yeah. We'll see it. It's going to be interesting. So big shout out to State. I do not think I can see Arch Manning going to Starkville, Mississippi.
They're an Ole Miss family, too.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
But see, I mean, they were when Peyton went to
Tennessee.
Yeah.
That was a Cutcliffe thing, right? Like, he wanted to play for Cutcliffe. So be interesting to see. Maybe they bring in David Cutcliffe as an analyst, consultant. All right, last one. Jonathan Smith is going to leave Oregon State, take the Michigan State head job. That's a great hire for Michigan State.
It's a great. I think
it's a hire. That's a place you can win a lot of football games. I hate it for Oregon State fans, though. I hate it for the Pac-12 that has dissolved now. I mean, this has to be one of the reasons for.
I tweeted that out. Pete Nakos from On3 agreed with me. I got a lot of respect for Pete. This is why the uncertainty. Look, at the end of the day, I got a family. Like, I'm looking at all. I mean, we're just sitting over here with Washington State trying to see if we can sneak a kiss from the Mountain West when nobody's looking. Like, but at Michigan State now, too, think about it. No divisions, right? It did get easier. I think Jonathan Smith, security. He's going to be balanced. He's going to build it the right way. I feel like, and I use the word fit. Like, listen, you want to fit, win.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people that didn't look like a great fit that ended up winning. A lot of guys look like Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Great fit, except when it comes to winning games on the field. I think Jonathan Smith is kind of the perfect kind of middleman for Michigan State. Not over-emotional, right? He's kind of a little bit in that Mark D'Antonio, that a little bit in that.
Don't say that to Michigan fans.
I know, right? I know they want to hear. But guess what? A good Michigan State, right, is good. And people say, oh, well, who needs to be bad for it to be good for college football? But a good Michigan State, good for the Big Ten, good for college football.
For the conference.
And it's something that I want to see because they're as passionate as we are about it.
So Big Ten now, I mean, we're talking about how top heavy it is. It's just, it's insane. It's kind of disappointing, to be honest. Now you're going to have USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington coming in, and now Oregon State's head coach coming into Michigan State. Things got to be looking up for the Big Ten next year.
I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait. This is going to be deep. They're going to be a deep conference, and it's going to be phenomenal. I don't know if y'all saw this. One thing kind of pisses me off about this situation is, Jonathan Smith came out and said he had no contact with any other school. No contact at all. And then he came out when he signed. He's like, yeah, well, I've been in contact with Michigan State for weeks. I just hate when head coaches lie about this stuff. And I understand there's nuances to it, and you don't want your players this and that. But I think you could come out and say there has been conversations with Michigan State or this or a team. I just hate when coaches backdoor people. I really do. And I think Jonathan Smith did a great job at Oregon State. I think he'll do a great job at Michigan State. But just come out and tell us.
Well, in this situation, too, you didn't have to come. Just say, listen, I have no comment. I'm focused on what I'm doing right now. You
are that.
Say, but, in this case, I can be like, guess what? They took everybody but us. Like, if I'm Jonathan Smith, I'm going to say, you want to know why I'm leaving? Look at what happened in the Pac-12. Is this really that hard for him? Do y'all blame me? What, I'm supposed to stay at Enron? Like, I'm supposed to stay at Enron when I know it's going down? Like, I would come out and be like, well, what would you do? Like, I got kids. Like, I want security. I can get this at Michigan State. My name's still hot. And guess what? I think this would be one of the cases where fans would be like, you know what, Jonathan Smith, I don't blame you. Not Oregon State fans. They're going to be pissed either way. Some of them, I think, understand. But I think in this case, Jonathan Smith could have been like, I am leaving this place because a hurricane hit the Pac-12. That's why. So now I'm moving inland, somewhere else, where I know, the Big Ten will eventually join the SEC and battle the Klingons for interstellar domination. But let's go and get to the calls.
All right, let's talk to Trey. Trey's in our old stomping grounds in Atlanta. Trey, happy Monday.
What's up, Trey?
Happy Monday, guys.
What up?
Hey, I just wanted to call in about the Iron Ball. And I'm not going to rub it in. I'm not that kind of guy. I know Blaine wouldn't do the same thing, but I won't rub it in. What I wanted to talk about, though, is has Nick Saban finally dipped into the dark arts? Because this is the second straight year in Jordan Hare, and we all know Jordan Hare is the
saw it again
for anything dark arts and anything else. But second year in Jordan Hare in a row, where Auburn had over a 99% chance to win, and Alabama somehow found a way to win.
Yeah,
which again is that him embracing the dark arts, or the dark arts disappearing when Auburn needs it the most?
I think it's
kind of ironic and funny.
Yeah. Well, Trey, I think it's kind of the world. I think it's the world kind of correcting itself, right? Somebody with powerful magic somewhere in 2010 got us Cam Newton and then got Cam Newton to be eligible again, and Auburn finally won the national championship. That same person in 2013 said, I don't care what happens after this. Rip my heart out, but can we please beat Alabama and Georgia this year? You get the prayer in Jordan Hare. You get the kick six. This is God getting not revenge, but the world correcting itself, right? Because in the Iron Bowl, that's what I firmly believe it is. I just think it's an autocorrect, and it's sickening, Trey.
Look. I'm a Falcons fan. I grew up in a household that also loved Georgia Tech, so I get it. Hey, I get it. But I just found that I knew what the percent chance was this year. I didn't realize. I knew obviously they went from the one drive 99 yards. I didn't realize it was the same statistical situation, which until someone pointed that out, I thought that was kind of
Auburn right now is Papa Doc.
Yeah. Well, Trey, I appreciate you saying you're not rubbing it in, then proceed to rubbing it in my face. That's phenomenal.
You know what? Hey,
thank you
Trey,
so much.
You know what we were talking about this morning? You know what I was like on Sunday? And we had a bunch of family emergency going on. By the way, shout out Miss Trudy. Hope you're feeling better. I felt like Vince Vaughn in Wedding Crashers when Owen Wilson convinces him to stay, and the next morning, and he's like, "Listen, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get some breakfast. All right. I'm gonna recharge my batteries. Don't ask me about last night because it's only gonna make me mad." It was that exact scene from Wedding.
What's rough is this is what's rough. Okay, is especially for us. Okay, because it is our job to watch college football. All right, this is our job. It's after that game, we're multi-view guys. I'm multi-view. I have 4 games on at once. I have multiple TVs. It plays for the rest of the night. And it just slowly sticks me more and more through the night. Look, I was on the field. All right, I was on the field. To be honest with you, I watched the first drive on both sides of the ball and left. Left. Because I knew.
I'm out.
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew we were going to lose that game.
Well, that's the hardest part was that Auburn caught all the breaks.
Yep.
All the breaks to win.
Yeah.
And you still found a way to lose. Shovel it out. Burn it.
But congrats.
What do they do on Prometheus? Right? When the guy gets infected, they burned him. You got to get it out somehow. I don't know. Send a shaman in there, to just bless with the spirits in the field house. Something's messed up. But Trey, we appreciate it, buddy.
Blaine, I just want to say one more thing. That's how I feel about the damn kick six every stinking year. And they played that thing all day.
Still the greatest finish to an Iron Bowl.
Look, don't try to bring up the kick six to make me feel better.
Yeah, that is, right. Yeah.
All right. I hope you have a terrible rest of your week.
Trey, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Trey. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to Steve in Ohio. Steve, what's up, man?
Hey.
Oh man, that wasn't nearly as enthusiastic
hey, buddy, I feel
of a hey.
that. All right, I feel that.
I feel typically you're more enthusiastic.
Typically, yeah, but the first thing I want to talk about is, and we got almost 700 watching, and we got 575 votes on the poll, and we can't get to 150 likes.
Tell him, Steve.
Tell him, Steve.
Tell him, Steve. You can't hit that like button. You can't just
150 likes.
Get him, Steve.
Get him, Steve.
Let him know.
Our Craning Company has his own bingo card.
I know.
Steve makes.
Steve's
That's insane.
Steve's a real one.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, so let's get that 150 so I can check that off the bingo card.
Yes. Hit like. Grow up.
Cone.
Talk to me, Steve.
If you want to see that picture I posted, you're going to have to go to Twitter, or going to have to go to Facebook, unless Sister Riggs wants to put it on Twitter for me since I'm not on there.
Okay. The picture you posted. I'll go to Facebook. I'll check it out.
Put it on the line.
Yeah, it's on the Crane and Company group page.
Nice.
How'd you feel about the game, Steve?
I know.
The first
Steve.
from Kyle McCord was a killer. But I think what actually killed Ohio State was that 7-minute drive in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State couldn't get Michigan off the field.
Smushy.
Yep.
Smushy. That's who
they
Michigan
needed it
is.
most, man. Sharon Moore.
Smushy, man.
Incredible.
Definitely. Well, look, hey, you never know. You never know. You could have some craziness. Y'all need a bunch of craziness this weekend, that's for sure.
And
Y'all needed Auburn to win, honestly. That would have helped.
What?
If Auburn would have beat Alabama,
That would have been a huge help.
that would have been a huge help to Ohio State. So sorry, Steve.
I'm not counting on it, but I've got a guy that makes homemade Buckeyes. And since Ohio State scored 24 points in the game, Cohen, I'm going to send you 24 homemade Buckeyes.
Wow, thank you, man.
Hey,
Man
we'll put
of
it on
his
the
word.
set, Steve, right by the sign that says "Be like Steve."
And then I'm going to eat them all.
And
Definitely.
he won't have them ready till Friday, so they won't be in the mail till then. But
Well, Steve, we appreciate it, buddy.
Well, Steve,
Hey,
just
it's-
know you're not walking on this path alone, buddy.
Yeah,
all right.
we're here
You're-
together.
There's a lot of people on the
Pain
same
and
path,
sorrow.
me included.
Yeah.
We got to win 5 more to
right.
even catch
good
up
week,
with.
guys.
Thanks,
See you,
Steve.
Steve.
Appreciate you, buddy.
See you, man. All right, let's go to Josh in North Carolina. Josh, what's up?
Hey guys, what's up?
What's up, man?
Man.
I'm a man of my word, and I made a bet to PJ, and she won it. So I
NC
guess
State.
North Carolina State is
Hey,
the better team.
It's one of my dog picks.
Dude, I'm mine too. I took a
Oh,
money
yeah.
line. I will say this. I think Steve Smith Sr. pissed off NC State more than anybody
Oh,
else.
yeah.
I feel like Dave Doran now should
Yeah.
send him a thank you letter. Look at the way that NC State was playing before Steve Smith called them a basketball school, and then look at the way they played
Look at
after it.
Iowa State. I mean, I'm telling you, sometimes
Sometimes.
you have to piss people off for them to play better.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you
Tyler
actually.
in Spartanburg.
Yeah, that's how you actually
Well, go
get the
down
dog
the
out of
list.
people, man.
Connor Stallions?
Hero.
Hero.
Yeah.
Hero.
I mean, you know what? I'm happy Michigan won because my girlfriend was texting me this whole week, actually 2 weeks, because I told her I was betting this game, and she told me they were going to lose, and I told her you got to believe, and I was right, and I did bet a -2.5 because I didn't believe in the -4, but I mean, hey, you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and I won. And that's great. So go blue.
And what's funny is if Michigan had their way, they would have only won by 3 because they wanted that first down at the end to kneel it out.
Well,
having to kick that field goal and go up 6 gave the Buckeyes.
Think
the
about
ball
it, too.
back.
They iced Ohio State's kicker right before half, right?
And he
Where he
made the
missed that
first
field goal.
one, yeah.
See, that's another thing. Reichert missed a field goal for Bama
Yeah.
in that game.
That's when I really was
And
like,
Ohio State
I was looking
kicker.
around. I was like, this is good for Bama, man.
Blew it.
Yeah.
Coy Moore, dead to me board.
I got
Dead to me board.
right. Georgia's dead to me. I bet a -24 against Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
How do you
well,
not? I mean,
you and me both.
I don't
No,
know what
listen.
it is.
Well, I took Tennessee -26.5 against Vandy, so thanks for that one,
Okay,
Baltar.
yeah.
I will say
Hey,
this.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, what's up? What's up?
Well, I'm going to say with the Coy Moore thing, like I do obviously hurt for him. That's unfortunate because now you're a legend in the Iron Bowl in a bad way. Like that's going to be you forever, dog.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
tough.
No, it's hard. If you're Coy Moore, it's hard to look at the guys who just bled out on that field to win the game after the game in the locker room. Dog, I couldn't even look at you. I couldn't even be around you, to be honest.
But
Hopefully they'll pick him up.
I know
don't
you got to. That's why you have
Pick him
teammates.
up. It's a brotherhood. Appreciate it,
I
Josh.
don't understand how you send. Oh, I was going to say I don't understand how you send 2 on 4th and 34. Like
No one does,
nobody's
Josh.
explained it to me logically.
Yeah, it's
But anyways, y'all have a good one.
You
It's
too,
Auburn
buddy.
being
Hey,
Auburn,
if you
man.
come up with that punishment, let me know.
yeah.
Oh, I
Appreciate
got
it.
it. I'll DM you. Don't
All
worry.
right.
right.
Man. All right, let's go to Kendall in Illinois. Kendall, how you doing?
What's up, boys?
What's
What is
up?
up?
Yeah.
Hey, Blaine, go shave your head. This is War Channel Illini, by the way.
I'm not shaving my head. I don't know why this is trying to
Go
become a
shave
thing.
your head.
Fellas,
Why don't you
it's
shave
not
your
going to
head?
grow back.
Why don't you shave your
And
head?
then I'm going to, I'm not going to Rainbow Land. All right. And you
We are
can't
gonna make
me.
Why aren't you shaving your
Why
head?
would I shave my head?
Professor
Why
X
is this a
shaved his
thing?
head.
Why is this a
Look what
thing?
happened with him.
Hey,
Look,
man.
we made a
Tell him,
deal.
Kendall.
We made a deal. All right, I'm about to do the Donald Trump hands if we keep talking. We made a deal. The deal didn't
Ready?
happen.
You ready?
Right? It didn't happen, so I'm not shaving my head. Hey, we can put something else on the table. And first of all, these guys up here won't let me shave my head and think they're going to put me on a show the next day.
Yeah.
It's not happening. But we can get to something else. I'm not eating anything. I'm not getting tased by anything.
What can you do? What are you going
For $20,
Truth
I'll
or Dare,
fight
don't
Dewey the Bear.
Blaine picks truth,
pick
and
truth
truth or
and
dare
truth or dare.
100%.
It depends on what's surrounding me.
Yeah, I know, Kendall. So welcome to my live.
I know. I wish I had a brother. That's why I have to pick on Blaine. So
That's fine. Hey, look,
Kendall, that's what you're in the trust tree, buddy.
Yeah.
You're here.
hey, you know what? I love you guys. You guys are great. I listen to you guys every day. But I have to get to Illinois football real quick.
Yeah.
And Jake and Blaine, dude, I felt your pain all Saturday. I was following your game while I was at the Illini game, and frankly, I don't know what to think anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I want Bielema to be great for us.
Well,
but I'm really, I mean, I don't know. I'm giving him one more year. Let's just put it that way.
Here's what I'll say, Kendall. I think we do have to understand that what all Illinois lost from last year's team.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm watching these guys start in the NFL.
And
you sit here and wonder why Illinois had the #1 defense in the country. Like, you just don't replace that, right? I think sometimes we get so kind of used to watching Bama replace it and Georgia replace it and Michigan and Ohio State replace it, that we think that's just how it is. Where if you have a great year of a senior-led team, right, or an upperclassman-led team, that all of a sudden, because you had that big year, it's going to turn into that rotation. And I got a ton of respect for Illinois. I just don't think Illinois is that place. I think Illinois is a place where you build it up with leadership from older guys, and once out of every 3 years, 3 to 4 years, you have that big year. Not that you can't win 7 or 8 consistently, but it's hard in the Big Ten, right? I think sometimes we get a little bit lost in the sauce, and we think it's so easy to recreate that. I mean, you look at Weatherspoon, gone, right?
Oh, yeah.
The brothers, gone. Ryan Walters, gone, who I think is going to end up being a really good head coach at Purdue. I think he's got to keep learning, thinking he needs to keep his mouth shut a little bit when it comes to some of this other stuff. But I think he's going to be really good. But Illinois lost just more than the secondary. I will say this, though. I think it showed a lot about that team by the way that Paddock came in and played a little bit. But I like Altmaier. I do like Luke
Altmaier, too. You have to figure out a way to beat a Northwestern team.
I agree with that.
Gotten fired for. Again, we need to talk about the job that Northwestern did to finish 7-5. You have to figure out a way to beat Northwestern when you're at home, and you need that for bowl eligibility, right? There would be a big difference
Absolutely.
to me.
Well, I would say this. What other coaches have y'all had in the past 10 years? It's better than Brett Bielema.
Not Lovey.
Ron was 18 and 38. Ron was 18 and 38. Brett's 9 and 9.
Lovey was bad.
Lovey was 10 and 33. Tim Beckman was 4 and 20. And you have then you have maybe Ron Turner in 97 through 2020, 2004.
I still remember.
I love the
who was there in 2006 to 2008? Who was their head coach?
It was Ron Zook.
That was
it Zook? I remember going and playing in Champaign at night against Juice Williams. It's like we won by a couple points.
Aurelius Ben.
We won by a couple points, and we're glad to get out of there. I mean, they were good football.
I mean, right now Brett's 13 and 12, man. Like that's.
Well,
I'm not complaining at this point, but you know, I mean, it's a constant like, what are we doing? Like, how can we get to the point where we're better? And which, by the way, Tony. 09 Halloween night, I believe you were still on the team. I was at that game. You guys had a first and goal at the 1, and we stopped you guys 4 straight downs and then turned around and, you know, I think you remember that game. We won.
That was my senior year. Rich Rod years. I've tried to forget as much as I can, but
he got neuralized by Agent J in 2010. But Kendall, thanks so much for calling.
Williams years.
Dude, what a name!
Was a heck.
Love you, bud.
Love you, bro. Appreciate it.
Keep it up, guys. We love you.
Thanks,
See you, man. Have a good day.
Love you too, man. All right,
hey, can we pause for 3 seconds to have everybody hit that like button? Just pause for 3 seconds.
See, are we at 150 yet?
Oh, we're 203.
Over.
All right, I want 300.
Wow.
I want 300. I want to Leonidas this thing.
All right, let's go to Cade in Idaho. Cade, how you doing?
Boise.
Hi.
Cade, get in your bag, Cade. Get in your bag. Hey, you guys are hot. Was Avalos the problem?
I think Avalos was a problem.
I mean, dude.
He was a problem.
I don't see a lot of teams that fire their head coach and instantly get better.
3 straight beats.
You know who did? You know who did?
Head coach.
I know we keep bringing him up. Northwestern. All right. Nobody wants to say it. Does anybody want to say it? But how are y'all feeling out there, man, in Potato Town?
We are feeling great. We're cold. Currently 16 degrees.
But we look. My question is that this interim coach. A lot of people are saying that he's bringing
Sexy back?
a lot more player passion. Spencer Danielson is the interim coach,
Sell Spencer.
and he is just doing so great, and everyone is saying that he should be the new hire. My question is I don't think that he's proven himself enough, but if he wins this weekend against UNLV, is there any way that he doesn't get the job?
This is like, to me as an AD, this is like one of the hardest things because you didn't have Spencer Danielson pegged to be the replacement for Avalos, right? Did you already have a guy in mind whose season isn't over yet? I'm looking across the board. Could he come from the MAC? Could it be Jason Candle? I don't know. But like, at what point do you look and say, man, you're doing so well? Again, Northwestern. I know we keep bringing this the most we've ever talked about Northwestern. That's what they did. They said, listen, man, I mean, the question is, you don't know how to recruit. You don't know how he'll handle an offseason. You don't know, because so much more goes into the offseason as a head coach with the fundraising and the appearances and things you have to do. It's a totally different job than what he was doing. So it is a huge unknown. But a lot of times, just like on fourth down, you know what you got to do, Cade? You got to go off feel. You got to go off feel and instinct. If instinct is telling you this guy can do it, and you go out and you beat UNLV, right, in the Mountain West Championship, and you win that, and you look at the run he's went on, I think you can make a very, very good case for keeping him. But I think this is one of those true instinct, because guess what? You don't know. You've got no idea. And unless there's somebody out there pegged that you know for sure can get the job done.
I do.
Why not? No,
my good time boy needs to come back to Boise State, baby. Come on, Brian. Come on down. Come on. Woohoo!
Hey, remember, hard work beats talent.
Yeah.
Talent doesn't. You know who probably loved that Alabama win more than anybody was Brian Hart.
Oh.
He probably loved it.
A good time boy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Kate.
Thanks,
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, man. All right, let's get one more in here. Jake in Florida. Jake, how you doing?
Hey, guys. How we doing this morning?
J-Bone, what's
Hello,
up?
Jake.
So, listen, I'm going to touch on the Iron Bowl a little bit. I'm not going to get into detail.
Why? Why?
I just want to say what a game. I'm pretty sure Auburn and Alabama fans had a feeling that something crazy would happen like that. It always does in Jordan-Hare. But I've been catching flack from the casuals, somehow using this win as a knock against Alabama. I witnessed a kick six in Jordan-Hare. Like, this game's always going to be close. It's always going to be crazy. I don't think this affects Alabama's resume at all.
No.
I mean, if you're a ball knower, you know.
I agree with that.
And another thing, I want to have a discussion. We need to have a serious talk about Florida State. And I know you're not going to like this, but I'm tired of all the grandstanding and the pandering. The whole point of the 4-team playoff was to get the 4 best teams in, right? I don't think they ever said the 4 most deserving. They said the 4 best.
Well, what's the difference? Here's my thing, Jake. Here's my thing, though. This is what we talked about at the beginning of the show. The four. Who's the best team? The one that went 13-0 or the one that went 12-1?
Well, not all schedules are created equal.
They're not. So, but again, at the end of the day, when you look at Florida State's resume, it's right there with Bama's. It's not that far removed from Bama's. But like, to me, it's a full season, right? It's let me ask you this: who's better right now, Texas or Alabama?
At this moment,
yes.
At this moment, I would lean Alabama. If you want to take head-to-head, or if you want to do an overlook,
you have to take head-to-head, right? Right. To me, best and deserving can go hand in hand. I think we try and separate them because it's fun. When
it comes to Florida State, it's not about the schedule. It's not about this. It's about losing Jordan Travis.
Mm-hmm.
That's what is 100% is about. If Florida State goes undefeated, you have to put him in.
You have to put him in.
You have to put him in. There has to be a standard and putting criteria of putting teams in the college football playoff. Do I think they will get their ass beat if they get put in the playoff? For sure. For sure I do. But how can you punish a team right, for going undefeated, and you just lose your quarterback and then not put him in.
And here's the thing to remember, too. If you want to set that dangerous of a precedent where an undefeated team, not only in the Power 5, but a huge football brand, I mean, Florida State's, as big of a brand as it gets. If you want to set the precedent that they won't make the college football playoff after they go undefeated because they have an injury the last couple of weeks of the season, that could happen to your team one year when you deserve to get in the playoff.
Didn't Jalen Monroe get benched? Here's
the thing. He did, but here's the thing. The precedent was already set when the committee decided that there was going to be a 14 playoff because there's 5 Power 5 conferences, so somebody was always going to get left out.
For sure.
When you look at the Power 5 conference champions or the potential conference champions, you tell me who is Florida State favored against? Line them up. Matter of fact, go 1 through 8.
Who was TCU favored against last year? Who was TCU favored against last year that made the playoff? Their ass wasn't favored against Michigan. They beat them. They weren't favored against Bama, but they still got in. Like it's again, we can't just sit here and say you're the best team right now, so the rest of the regular season doesn't matter.
I don't like to play in the
It just doesn't matter.
Alabama was a 15-point favorite against Auburn and had to win on a Hail Mary. So like the favorite, that doesn't work in my opinion. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay,
it's a logical argument. I get it,
but you can't open that box. You can't open that door because everything will come crumbling down.
But guess what? We're going to a 12 team, Jake. We're going to a 12 team. This is last year. We may have an argument about the 13 team, but it's like arguing the 69th team, the first team that gets left out of the NCAA tournament. We may argue it for a little bit, but at the end of the day, is anybody really just done?
And I don't think they beat Louisville anyways.
I don't think they do either.
Yeah.
I think Louisville's going to win that game right now. That's kind of the way I'm feeling, Jake. But hey,
great call, dude.
Hey, by the way, that game should not be held against Alabama. I agree with you 100%.
Nah, y'all
you know anything about college football, you know that a win in the Iron Bowl is a win in the Iron Bowl, just like a win in the game is a win in the game. It's one of the top, just like Oregon, a win against Oregon over Oregon State doesn't matter. You just got to win that game and you got to survive. You got to keep it what, Jake?
Keep it steady.
It's like that.
See you, bud. Good call. Jake. Call in next week. It'll be a big week.
I always like when he calls in.
Devil Doc, you call in tomorrow. I'll get to you first.
Yeah, we're going to get to calls a little bit earlier tomorrow, too. I know everybody tries to call in, and it's on hold.
4 minutes. You want to get the bets, and we'll get to donations.
We'll get to the NFL tomorrow, too.
Yep. Let's go ahead and get the bets. The marker ran out today. We got to get a new one in there. PJ, let's mark it up. Love you. I'm going to take a little Monday Night Football. Give me the over, the Bears and Vikings. Because, again, I'm not going to sit there and watch it under. I think Justin Fields and Josh Dobbs are just going to run their way around. It's going to be somewhere of a 20, give me a 27-20 type game, somewhere around there. And then I'm going to take Fordham at home today over Manhattan in some college hoops action, minus 12. That's at minus 112. The Chicago, Minnesota over at 44 is at minus 110.
I'm going to take the under, actually, in Chicago, Minnesota, under 44, minus 110. And then the Vikings, minus 2.5, minus 127.
All right, I love it. I'm going to take J.A. Give me Jordan Addison, first touchdown score. That's going off at plus 1100. I'm sure it'll be Dobbs running in the end zone. I can't wait. Give me the over. I can't see it. I think I got it at 44.5.
You got it at 44 now? I got
it 43.5. I'd have to go look, but either way, I'll go 44 for 44.5. It doesn't matter. We'll see. Ace money.
Baby Cone is Bears first half field goal, minus 155. And Bears, Vikings each score a rush touchdown in the game, plus 190.
Wait, so just a field goal at all the first halves, minus 155?
Or they got to be winning by a field goal?
Huh?
They got to be winning by a field goal or just
No, the Bears to make a field goal in the first half, minus 1.
That's probably a phenomenal bet.
That's a little.
All right, let's get to these donations quickly. Let's go to Chase Mills with a $5 donation. Been doing my whole life, son. Who is Jeff Levy's starting quarterback next season? My guess is the old Brock Vandagriff.
From Georgia? I don't know. He may be at Auburn.
I'm hearing a lot of Grayson McCall.
See, I don't know if I trust Grayson McCall.
I'm hearing a lot of Riley Leonard.
He gets hurt every 3 games.
I'm hearing Riley might come down.
He's like Samuel L. Jackson in Unbreakable. He's like Mr. Glass.
Let's go to Jonah Greaser with a $2 donation. Appreciate it, Jonah. Do Washington or Oregon have a shot to win it all? Both of them.
We are going to get into that tomorrow. That's going to be top of mind. This is the beautiful part about the conference championship. We can lead with SEC championship Monday, Pac-12 on Tuesday. whatever Iowa's going to attempt to do against.
Hey, they're a good football team.
They are.
They're a tough team.
They are a tough team. Hey, it's still impressive. To be that ugly and have that much success.
I can't believe. I'm shocked. 10-2.
Yeah.
Y'all are going to kill Iowa. I hope you know that.
Well, Iowa can't score.
Y'all are going to. No.
In a game where the
slaughter.
team with the most points wins, it's a bad matchup.
This is gonna be a 30-minute football game, and you're going to win by 40.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Carson Everett with a $10 donation. Appreciate it, Carson. Kind of hitting on it earlier. Tried calling in, but it thought about the refs for the Iron Bowl were terrible both ways.
They were.
Three men in motion call still doesn't make sense. By the way, I like to mark down my call-in name, designated driver.
Yes.
Roll Tide.
Okay. Hey. We'll get to your call tomorrow, I promise.
But yeah, we kind of hit on earlier with the 3-man situation. That's
a penalty.
You can't do that. You definitely can't do that. Let's go to Brian Phillips with a $10 donation. He says, for Blaine to help out in the drywall repairs, tough loss, guys.
Yeah. You think I'm surprised Blaine didn't punch a hole through the atmosphere.
Yeah, look, I was at my mom's house, so I could not do it at all.
So
as much as I wanted to, I just
kicked a tree.
I just went outside and picked on little children. That's what I did. Let's go to Max Destruction Ken with the $10 donation. He says, Kyler or Gannon, I want to believe that the Cardinals can get it done under the new HC, but does current win now mindset allow his culture to flourish? The Rams spanked that ass.
Yeah, they did. You spanked that ass, Les.
It's amazing when they run the ball well, the Rams win.
It is. Listen, I go back and forth on Kyler, man. Because, I watch him sometimes, I'm like, God.
He's good, dude.
And then sometimes I watch him like, God.
I think the Cardinals are just bad.
They're just bad around him.
Yeah.
They are.
All right, let's go to Broken Devil Dog with the $5 donation. Last donation here. My daughter, born 11/24/2022, turned 1 on Friday, and has yet to see Michigan lose to Ohio State.
Never seen it.
Go.
My son doesn't know what it's like.
He's 3.
Spoiled. And he saw the Braves win a World Series. Spoiled.
What a great situation.
Yeah.
I'm super jelly. All right, we appreciate you guys.
Calm down.
Let's get to the poll.
Get to the poll, all right? Who wins the SEC championship? Georgia or those other guys in Tuscaloosa?
I'm going to say they said Georgia 57%.
Georgia 58%.
Georgia 71%.
Wow.
Alabama
Slaughter.
29%. You spanked that ass, Kirby.
We'll slaughter in the poll.
It's like the evil empire versus the evil empire. Like, who do you root for when two bad bosses?
The Dune situation.
It really is the Dune situation. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're just looking around today. Maybe something happening. We'll let you guys know. And just like the chances of Auburn not blowing it in the fourth quarter, we're going. Woo! Gone.
Someone can catch.
Yeah.